Hey, Motell granted the grade, and I'm talking college football and the championship rounds of 4 teams, which I'm more in favor of 4 than 12. But the 4 that they picked: Alabama, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. It's pretty hard to argue with Michigan at 1. So what I think they did was they selected, the conference champions, which may be the best technique or philosophy because all 4 teams won their conference championship. So if that's the philosophy that they went with, which it looks like, I guess that's too tough to battle. Washington, who is a West Coast team, has proven that they have earned their spot. Now, what we want to see is when they play against some of the more southern teams, we'll see how they respond. My opinion, a lot of times the West Coast teams, they fling it, let it go, and they have gotten embarrassed from a few times. Boise, Utah, Oregon, whatnot, Washington, and so even Texas. Horned Frogs, excuse me. We'll have to see. I think Washington, to me, is suspect. But I think they make it because they're undefeated, which makes us say, well, Florida State should have made it. But I don't think expanding it to 12 is going to make a difference because now 13 and 14 and 15 will be complaining. And the kids will have to play more games than what they did before now. As long as you give Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State an opportunity to make it into the tournament of 12, they're probably going to always win. They're probably going to always win. So now they're guaranteed to be in the top 12. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. A lock. And with that being the case, that's going to make it tough for everybody else. So who can a 12 seed be? Who can be at a 12 seed that makes it? But anyway, it's tough to argue, I guess, with Washington, but I just believe that if there is an argument, that maybe Washington shouldn't be in. So, if y'all allow me to take Washington out, I would take Washington out and I would plug Georgia back in. 2-time defending national champions. SEC, which is still the best conference. Number 1 seed all year. They got 1 loss, just like a couple of other people have. 1 loss. Michigan at 1 played a schedule. What are you impressed by? What? Blew out an Iowa football program that has a very difficult time doing what? A very difficult time moving the football. Michigan played against Georgia, was it last year, year before, and got blowed out. Washington played, got blowed out. Somebody, oh, it's a new year. Well, it's not a new year. It's not a new year. So Michigan, Washington, suspect. Texas, who has won a national championship before, is a solid team and program. They rose out of the ashes just from a few years ago. Turmoil was in the program at Texas. And now all of a sudden, Texas is the truth. Texas is 1. Georgia is 2. Alabama is 3. And Florida State will have to be 4. But Michigan gets in for sure because they beat Ohio State. Ryan Day hasn't been able to beat Michigan. Ohio State used to destroy Michigan for a lot of years in a row. A lot of them. Harbaugh used to lose to Urban Meyer religiously. Under the rug was swept the controversy with Coach Harbaugh. He just came off of suspension. Two different sets of 3-game suspensions. I don't know all of the details, but he was suspended. I can't even think of the brother's name that led the ship 3 games in a row, both different times, I believe. He's not going to go down in history. He actually was officially the head coach when Michigan won his 1,000th game. Sharon Moore, I think that's his name. Thank you, God. Sharon Moore should get credit. Once again, there's a black man who's behind the real success. Won't get credit for it. Motell Granted the Great, Mark Jackson, Tony Dungy, and a lot more. Michigan is suspect. The 4 best teams in the country, 4 best teams is Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and Florida State. That is your top four. Those four teams will beat everybody else. Michigan cannot beat Georgia nor Alabama. They probably can't beat Texas. They might struggle with Florida State, but Norville might have something to say about that, because they play excellent defense too at Florida State, and they got some speed. Florida State is finally back. Shout out to Coach Norville, that whole program. They bring their lunchbox. Florida State is back. I would have loved to have seen Michigan play against Florida State. I would have. That would have been. But Alabama is going to beat Michigan. And Texas is going to beat Washington. Yeah. And then you got Texas and Alabama playing the rematch, right? And Nick Saban stands on top once again. That's how this is going to go. What made this transpire? I tell you who you can blame. It's not the committee. You can blame Auburn University. You can blame the last play of the game. Auburn had Alabama beat. Just like a Hail Mary pass thrown, Milroe rolls to his left, heaves it down the field. In the back of the end zone, one defender, one wide receiver. The defender was completely out of position. This should have been a prevent. How did he get stuck and jammed by himself with one wide receiver and one defender? Nick Saban did it again. Had Auburn knocked down the pass, Alabama would have had 2 losses, and they would have been out. Alabama has been playing suspect all year. They got beat by Texas. Struggled in a lot of these games. This is the weakest Alabama team I've seen in a very long time, and they may win the national championship. What does that say possibly about the portal? What does that say about this microwave approach that we got now? I'm a developer as a coach. You know, I'm not in this yet. I'm trying to get back in. But I'm a developer. So I already know this microwavable approach or the portal is not good for me. It's not good for me. It's not. Because what could happen, and there's no loyalty, I get it from kids. You at a smaller university or smaller school, I develop you, Nick Saban or Dabo Swinney or somebody, Ryan Day, Norville, Deion Sanders, they come and pick you up. They probably won't even thank me. Just take them and go. That's the meat factory process that we got going, which I hate about football and I hate about sports, the business side of it with people being corrupt and all of that. But you can blame Auburn for this. Auburn should get half of the national championship when Alabama wins it. Yeah. If you notice, a lot of things fall in Alabama's favor. A lot of favor. A lot of things work their way. Don't expect that to cease. That will continue. You're going to watch Michigan stand out there with their hands in the air as you get flagged for pass interference, as they run the ball down your throat, and all of a sudden now guys who used to be these amazing Big Ten run stoppers can't do anything with the real five-star offensive linemen and monster-sized guys from Alabama. They don't see that. Alabama's not going to fold up their tent like Iowa or Ohio State and cower. They're not going to do it. Milrose is hitting his stride, and he's rolling. The run game is powerful and potent. The passing game, the defense for Alabama. Nick Saban is the best coach. Yeah, they got everything in their favor now. Auburn is to blame. They ran through a SEC schedule and they made it. They made it through the gauntlet is what we call it. And as usual, Kirby Smart folded his tail and tucked it to his mentor. He might have thought as well that he still would just slide back to 4. Oh, I can get Nick in, my mentor, and I can still be in too. No, well, you were so nice and you got kicked out completely. Now Georgia versus Florida State is going to be the best game. 5-6. A gritty, tough Florida State team who grinds it out versus a late development offense, comeback late Georgia team. We see how that one pans out. But that's not in the Final Four, so it doesn't even matter. But nonetheless, that's what we got. So this is Motell Granted the Great. I just wanted to do my reaction to the national championship tournament. All right. Love y'all.